2016's Doctor Strange was, in my opinion, one of the MCU's better projects back in 2016 when they were still dropping relatively decent movies. And it was truly groundbreaking. But what if I told you it just riffed off of another movie that released in 2007 with the titular character of Stephen Strange? Now, Stephen was a fairly brilliant young man who happens to have a sister that he loved very much. But of course, with superheroes, they can't seem to have the one thing that grounds them. And for Stephen, that was his sister. She had developed severe brain cancer. There were tumors all over her brain, and the doctors deemed it inoperable. But Stephen was on his way to becoming a brain surgeon, and he decided he was going to operate on his sister. He decided to put his sister's life in his own hands, and unfortunately, that didn't end well at all. Stephen could not save his sister. No matter how hard he had tried, no matter how hard he had studied, or how hard he was giving, how much he was willing to give, it truly didn't matter. She died anyways, and this left a profound impact on Stephen as a doctor.
Stephen, what happened to you? Don't you care anymore?
Caring is not a luxury I can afford. I get the hopeless cases, remember?
I know. That's why I need you.
That is Dr. Gina Walters. This is Stephen's colleague, someone who firmly believes that medicine should be used to help people, even if the people are seen as impossible to help. But Stephen doesn't want to do this. He doesn't operate on children. Not anymore. Not since his sister. But when he touches that little girl's forehead, he sees something that scares him. Something far worse than just an inoperable tumor. And this scares him off completely. Even though he had told Dr. Gina that he would try, he runs.
This hospital feeding your monster ego. It's time you start giving back. No, no, por favor, le pido ayuda a mi niña.
I'm sorry. I can't help you. I'm sorry.
So Stephen runs. It is what he knows because he's afraid. He's afraid he's going to mess up again. He's afraid he's going to hurt someone again. And so that leads to him driving distracted, driving upset, and seeing all of the little children he just up and abandoned in that hospital. And for him, this was far more than enough to crash his car. And unfortunately for Stephen, this would spell the end for him in his career as a doctor. Stephen Strange wakes up in the hospital only to find out that his hands will no longer work. The things that he has spent training his entire life to use as a tool are gone. Call it a sort of ironic punishment from the world, a sense of karma. So Stephen spends every last dollar that he has to try and heal his hands through conventional medicine. And when I say every single dollar he has left, I truly mean every dollar. Stephen Strange basically emptied his entire bank account and had to be moved out of his upscale apartment and is basically living from motel to motel in the slums of New York City because he can't afford to live anywhere else. He spent all of his money trying to heal his hands, and none of it worked, not one bit. So Stephen decides one night that life has no meaning anymore. He doesn't have anyone outside of his job. His sister is gone. He hasn't made a meaningful relationship since, and so he tries to end it all. And then, yet, nothing. He just lands on the ground as though he didn't just try and jump off the bridge. And this is all because of a man named Wong, who is here to recruit him and to bring him to see the Sorcerer Supreme. And to get him there, he tells Stephen he can heal his hands. And so Stephen makes the long journey all the way up to the Sorcerer Supreme's place. And Steven is told that if he works hard and if he follows the techniques that are given to him by the Sorcerer Supreme, and he follows the way in which he is teaching healing, that Steven will be able to heal his hands. So Steven works hard every single day, and his number one task every day is to tear down the wall in front of him. It's to break it down and to move it and to throw the pieces away. But the wall is rebuilt every single day to the perfection that it was the day previous, and this wears heavily on Steven. The only thing that's keeping him going at this point is the memory of his sister, the memory of his own failure. It gets to the point where Steven is trapped in his own mind, trapped in the operating room in which he lost his sister, lost his will to live. It's almost as though Steven may be physically aging, but mentally and emotionally he has never grown from the moment that he lost his little sister. And that's something that I feel like a lot of people can relate to when it comes to losing someone close to them. But sometimes all it takes is having somebody else in your corner to help you out. And for Steven, that's the Sorcerer Supreme.
And break free. You stand at the foot of the wall. What is your next move?
After this experience, Steven feels lighter. He has been seemingly understood by somebody else, and he has finally been able to move on from the fact that he lost his sister. And once he has moved on, then do his hands finally heal. The power to heal his hands was within Steven himself the entire time. And funnily enough, the wall disappears after his hands are healed, because the wall was never truly there. The wall was literally all in Steven's mind. It was his own problems manifesting in front of him. And with that being done, he is finally ready to become the sorcerer Doctor Strange. Now, as it turns out, almost all of those inoperable tumors on the little children from the start of this video happened to be from Dormammu. No conventional medicine was ever going to be able to save those children. What it was going to take is somebody being selfless enough to go in there and to take them away from Dormammu's realm and save them himself. And while everybody seemingly praised Steven, one man didn't, and that would be Mordo. Mordo was extremely jealous of Steven. See, Stephen Strange was actually brought in to be the next Sorcerer Supreme. As the Sorcerer Supreme was dying, this entire journey has been orchestrated to bring Steven down, to humble him, and to reconnect him with people so that he can be the next Sorcerer Supreme. And this frustrated, to no end, Mordo, who was so willing to go behind the back of the Sorcerer Supreme to go join Dormammu and his cult to destroy the world, all because he couldn't be the Sorcerer Supreme. Side note, I think that motivation is really, really stupid and really dumb. I personally like how they did Mordo in the MCU 2016 Doctor Strange far more, because he just believed Doctor Strange was abusing time travel and he didn't like the way in which magic was being used. I thought that was a good motivation. This, on the other hand, it's terrible. But that's enough of me rambling. Let me get back to the video. So Mordo threw away everything just so he could get more power from Dormammu. And in the process, he unleashed Dormammu onto the population of New York. Dormammu's not just stealing children from their nightmares anymore. No, he's actively going through and eating people alive in New York City. Meanwhile, all this while Doctor Strange is desperately trying to save these children. And that's when it's revealed to him that something is off. And by the time he gets out to New York City proper to hopefully figure out what's going on and to stop Dormammu, he sees that the Sorcerer Supreme is already dead. He had passed on in trying to defer Dormammu and deflect him. And this is when Stephen Strange finds Mordo, who has literally caused a majority of these problems. And Doctor Strange is ready this time. He's frustrated and he's angry, but even when he is fighting Mordo, he doesn't want to hurt him. Doctor Strange truly believes in the oath he took as a doctor to heal people and to help people. And he was so grounded by this that not even Dormammu could corrupt Stephen Strange when he tried to. And with a little bit of help from Wong, Doctor Strange was able to literally imprison Dormammu inside of his amulet and not only save New York, but save those children that he said at the beginning of the movie he could never save. Stephen had finally done it. He had finally gone out and saved people he deemed himself unworthy or that he couldn't save. Stephen Strange had finally pulled his own head out of his own ass and done something for other people. And in the end, he was finally able to move on from the death of his sister. Alright, outro time. I don't know if you guys can tell, but if you saw my community post, you all know I'm sick as hell. It's currently 4:56 in the morning on Friday. I woke up around 2, and my voice was sounding fairly decent, and it doesn't really hurt as much to talk. So I really wanted to get you guys this video. I'm super stoked that you all really seem to like my Superman video I put out, and I'm just really glad to see you all engaging with the content. I'm very thankful to have almost 600 of you guys subscribe to my channel. To me, that's fucking crazy. And you guys give me the motivation. You keep pushing me to make videos, and I love it. If you've stuck around this long, you know, why don't you comment me your favorite piece of Doctor Strange media, if you know any of them, outside of maybe the MCU or anything niche and obscure. Other than that, if you want to support me on Patreon, it's $1 a month. You get the videos typically early if I'm not sick and unedited. And other than that, I hope you all have an absolutely fantastic rest of your week. I'll see you guys next time.